Welcome back to another episode of Raw and Radiant. I am so excited that you are here. We just recorded part one with my dear friend, my soul sister, my mystic sister, Ashley D. Adam. We recorded part one of Mind Expansion. This is going to be Mind Expansion part two. We just could have kept going on and on. We have so many juicy thoughts and ideas and wisdom that flows through us that I didn't want to make last episode, part one, very long or longer than it was. So here we are, part two. And what we want to get into on this episode of Mind Expansion is talking about plant medicine, talking about sacred earth ceremonies, something that we are bringing into our retreat in Sedona, November 1st through November 5th. But I know that Ashley here has had her own journey of psychedelics, and I have also. And it's just something that we want to drop into the space because there is so much beauty in plant medicine that I feel like it doesn't get touched on a lot. I feel like it's so secretive and hidden that it is something that I know we're both bringing into our community. I have I have an offer that's going to be coming out that is going to be incorporating plant medicine, microdosing, and breathwork with a whole lot more into it. So, before I get into that, I just want to introduce Ashley D. Adam, and we're here on part two of Mind Expansion.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
Again, thank you for being here. This is now the third time that we have recorded. And don't drop into this space like as long as you did, but what is your by trade you went to school for?
Yes, I went to school for a doctorate in naturopathic medicine that then shape shifted into a career in homeopathy. That then shape shifted into becoming a breathwork facilitator. And now I'm incorporating in more of like intuitive spiritual teachings, I guess
Mm.
is what we're generally labeling it as.
I love that. I love that. So if you have any questions on what a homeopathist does or how they facilitate their whole realm, see the prior episode, part one of Mind Expansion, where she gets into it. And then also 2 years ago, we recorded another episode, and I'll link these into the show notes. We recorded another episode of what her specialty is and how she helps moms with kids on the spectrum with homeopathy. But we're not getting into that today. We're getting more into, like I said, the sacred plant medicine. And I actually, I want to ask you, like, I already know your experience, so it's really going to be interesting for me to take myself out of your journey, out of your story, and be able to witness and hold you in this space. But give the listeners a little bit of how you have gone through your ceremony. Like, what was your experience? What kind of psychedelic did you use?
Which one? There's plenty.
Which one feels aligning for this episode?
Yeah, my favorite are mushrooms. Like
Mhm.
psilocybin just works really beautifully with my body and with my soul. And that was the first one that I explored. That then opened the door up to, right, other sacred plant medicines. But that's the one I keep going back to. That's the one that like keeps whispering my name, my soul. And I've only had really beautiful and expansive experiences. I know some people have had what we know is like a bad trip. I can't relate to that. So I can share a little bit. Do you want me to share with like how I came across it, how I called it in, my experience? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, that'd be really lovely. But first of all, before you do that, like there's lots of different plant medicines out there. We could talk about ayahuasca, which I know neither one of us have done. And I don't truly feel called to it anymore in my life. When I lived in Costa Rica, it was something that was readily, easily able to go to a ceremony. And it did speak to me at that time. But I think what had happened for me then is I was given a whole different choice of how to live my life. So for now, ayahuasca does not speak to me, but for me, it is. Um, my favorite right now is microdosing on psilocybin, but I also have had some beautiful other experiences and deeper deeper, different levels, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But Ashley, let's talk about your experience with your psilocybin journey.
Yeah, so the first trying to think how I want to start this off. So plant medicine was never something that I was like offered or exposed to. Like I really didn't know that it existed until it was offered to me. And then I'm like, oh, well, what's this? Right. And I shouldn't say that because in naturopathic medical school, like people talked about it. And I'm sure people explored, but it was never like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to explore that. Like it didn't really call to me, I guess. And if everything is energy, like I really think plant medicines can be like a purely intuitive decision. If you feel called to explore something, it's because the energy of your body is like asking for it for growth, evolution, and expansion, right? And just
Mhm.
saying that is purely my opinion, and that's purely
Mhm.
just based off my experience, not medical advice for anyone. But I want to be more vulnerable with that because I think a lot of people allow their mind, their ego, fear to like talk them out of um, really higher consciousness experiences
Mhm.
because it's what our conscious mind doesn't know or understand. So therefore we have to be fearful of it and like not explore it. Going back a little bit, I've always just kind of questioned this reality, like ever since I was a kid, like what is it? Why is the sky blue? Right? Why are the clouds white? Why is it up above us and not below us? Right? Just like starting why? I've always been very curious and just like how things work. And at this point in my life where I decided to explore mushrooms, I was with someone, we'll just call him Jay, because it's going to be annoying to be like that guy, that guy, that guy. And Jay and I's relationship or entanglement goes way beyond this reality. We're very, very connected on like a soul spiritual level. And I was with him, right, in a romantic relationship, and it just was not serving me. And I continued to allow myself to be in the space with him for way past our expiration date. And it just wasn't aligning for either one of us, right? It wasn't just one-sided. I was not good for him, he was not good for me, and we just kind of kept coming back to each other because there was that soul familiarity and that, right, that feels good, that feels safe, but just because it feels good and feels safe, like that doesn't mean that has to happen. Because ultimately, if you look at it, like it was very toxic for both of us.
So
It
which
was,
isn't safe. Yeah.
yeah, which actually
Yeah.
isn't safe,
Yeah.
but because toxicity was a part of my childhood too, my brain registered that as this is love, this is safe, this is
Mhm.
great, but like it
Mhm.
actually wasn't. Um, but anyways, we were separated at one point and he's like, "Hey, I have these, do you want to do them?" And like logically, I should have been like, "Fuck no." Like this is not a good decision, right? Not a good idea, especially if you like understood our full history to the complexity that it is. You'd be like, "Why did you do that?" Um, but there is just this innate knowing in me, like this soul my soul is like speaking to me. That's the best way I know how to put it into like words that we can understand and comprehend. And it was like, yeah, of course do this. Like this is exactly what you're needing at this exact time. So that's what I did. And I explored them with him. And when I did them, I put the preface out like, I just want to have my experience, like no touching, like just want to have my experience. And from my memory, that was not what respected in the way that I wanted it to be. So what happened was I went into this full expression of anger. And I had suppressed a lot of my anger from that relationship, like anger towards him and anger towards myself for like allowing myself to stay in that relationship as long as I did, allowing myself to not be a priority, not be loved the way that I wanted to. And reflecting on it now, that anger was my anger because he made me aware from the beginning, like, I'm not going to commit to you, right? This is
Mhm.
just essentially friends with benefits. Like, I'm not going to commit. And I kept telling myself something else, like seeing the potential that actually wasn't there, which, right, we all do at some point, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so when I started experiencing this anger, I was initially angry at him, but as it kept flowing through, I'm like, oh, I'm just angry at myself, right? For allowing myself to be in this situation. So long story short, I like expressed all this anger, put myself in a room. I was like screaming, crying, breaking shit. Like I was just fully uninhibited in my expression of anger, which up until that point, I don't know that I've ever allowed myself to experience. And the entire time that I was experiencing that, I was never scared or like, what's happening? Something's taking over my body. Like I was still really present really in control of the situation. And I want to bring that up because I think a lot of people, like specifically, I guess it would be your generation too, because I was gonna say my mom's generation, right?
Mhm.
They think that like, it's a substance, it's a drug, it takes over your body, you're not in
Mhm.
control.
Mhm.
That could be the case for some people, but I've never experienced that. Like, even if I've done higher dosages of it, like, I've never felt out of control, like something's coming over my body. But, anyways, so I was having that experience. And essentially, while I was having that experience, I was like purging up this like dark energy from my body. I wasn't actually vomiting or purging anything like in the 3D reality, but I guess plugged into the spiritual realm that I allowed myself to inhabit. I just watched like this dark black cloud like come out of my body. And so that was happening. And at that point, he like came into the room and he just like grabbed me and held me because I was like kind of on all fours, like dry heaving, right? And so he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started to like calm down and he just held me. And I don't remember how the conversation went, but he said something like, "Did you just like let go of me? Like, are you done with me? Are you done with this relationship?" It was something like that. And I was like, "Yeah, like I am." Like I literally just purged like this dark energy from my body and backtrack. On paper, like Jay was not good for me, but it was almost like a drug that like I had to
Mhm.
keep going back to, like I couldn't
Mhm.
get enough of. Like I
Yeah.
was like, this is not a good idea. Like I should not be going over to your house, right? I should not be entertaining you. I should not be giving you any of my time or energy. But it was like I couldn't say no. It just felt like such an addiction.
Mhm.
And so for me, when I purged that dark energy, I was like, I broke the addiction. Like I broke the cycle that him and I have continuously been in, like lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of continuously coming back to each other, but not being in the best partnership with one another, like just not in the highest alignment for either one of our souls.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted that, right? I purged it out. And then he asked, like, did you just like release me? And I was like, yeah, I did. And he was like, I feel that. Like, I felt that. So
Mm.
that's why for me, mushrooms are so beautiful for like self growth and expansion, but also to do with someone that you really care about, like a
Mhm.
partner or like a friend. And so what that experience taught me was that, right, it just reaffirmed him and I are so connected that he could feel like me disconnecting from his energy.
Mm.
Like I just think that that's so powerful. And at least for me, the thing with mushrooms is it doesn't allow you to experience something that's not already within you.
Mhm.
Other people might disagree, right? You get in these hallucinogenic states, but anything I've experienced, like I've already felt existed within me. I almost just like needed my soul's permission to explore it, if that makes sense. I don't know if
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
it's
No, no,
sometimes
no.
hard to,
Yeah.
yeah, put these experiences into words.
I think what's important to recognize too for the listeners is that there's different levels of going on a journey. So microdosing is a very low level. It's something that I've been doing for 2 years with psilocybin, and it has allowed me to like really expand into my breathwork sessions to fully open up to what my past was holding me back and the stories that were created within my mind from being in narcissistic manipulation, that during the 2 years of being in microdosing, it has been able to really allow me to see what the stories were on a different level. And then having, you can have a mid dose of psilocybin, which is something that you held me in a space when I was releasing a relationship. And it was a beautiful and uncomfortable experience. And what Ashley dropped into the space is that it is really, really important to be in in a space holding group that you feel safe doing this with. And of
Yeah.
course, that was Ashley for me, and to be able to release the layers of the relationship. And it wasn't really that relationship that I was releasing layers. It was layers of relationships of past that I was releasing. I hope that makes sense, because that relationship just opened my eyes and my heart to what I was still holding and what I was still carrying. And so that mid dose journey was able to give me that opportunity to release some more layers from the past, maybe even from past lifetimes. I don't know. And then having a bigger dose journey like what you did, and like that, I really want to preface going into it, have the intention of whatever journey you're doing, whether it's a microdose, a mid dose, or a hero's dose, have the intention of what you're desiring, and know that it is, for psilocybin, it's accentuator. So what you're feeling, it's going to accentuate it. So if you're feeling heaviness, be prepared. Like, it is opening you up. It is Mama Earth holding you in the sacred, safe space to open up and to release, so that you can step up into the next level, so that your soul can emerge as a brighter, full body goosebumps right now, as a brighter being and the brighter light that you are. So that's what I really want to make sure that everyone listening to this podcast, and that you fully take the time post any journey, any ceremony, that you integrate. It is so, so incredibly important. Even with breath work, like, I'm really getting specific with my clients to make sure that you integrate what you just experienced. It may not be comfortable, but it's simply just sitting with the new you, the new evolved you, the new expansive you, so that you can step fully into your soul's alignment.
Yeah, and I think that part of you has always existed, but the medicine just allows it to be revealed. And I'm glad you share that, because I should have said before I went into that whole experience, like, I set the intention, like, he gave me the medicine and I just held it in my hand, and I set the intention of, I think I said something like, Mother Earth, like, give me the strength to be done with this man. Like, yes, we love each other, but like, it's not the love I'm desiring to receive in this life. And like, I need to be done. Like, I feel like I don't have the strength to like disconnect and leave him. So essentially what happened, we had that experience. And I mean, he felt it and I said it. I was like, dude, we're done. Like, we're done playing this game. Because what would happen is we would, break up even though we weren't committed, and we would just come right back to each other. There was breakups and reuniting like 5, 6, 7 times. Like, I lost count. Right. And it was just ridiculous. And so I'm
Mm.
like, I need to be done. Like, we need to be done. And it was such a mutual understanding. And it was such a beautiful experience to me. Like, I always get emotional when I share it, because to allow yourself to, I guess, like, love and respect someone like that so deeply, to like allow yourself to have that vulnerable experience with them and
Mhm.
know that, like, hey, we're just not good for each other. Like, I can still love you, right? But like, we can't play the roles that we've been playing, like, in each other's lives. Like, we have to go our separate ways. Like, our time is up. Like, we've hit our expiration date, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't leave on bad terms. It was nothing but a mutual agreement that, like, I'm not good for you, you're not good for me. And I just see so many women, like specifically my mom, like, stay in relationships that just, they drag you down. Like, they weigh
Yeah.
you down. They're not in your highest alignment. And there's no judgment when I say that, but just bringing in the awareness that, like, if you want something different, you have to take different action. And I knew that, like, what I was doing was not allowing me to reclaim my power to make the decision to leave, I guess.
Mm. Hmm.
Right. So that's where the medicine, like, I set the intention and she fucking delivered.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. Yeah. So it's super important, like I said, with any dosing of plant medicine, that you set the
Yeah.
intention and that you're in a safe place when you're doing it,
Yeah.
and that you allow yourself time for integration afterward. Because that's, I've seen people come out of a breathwork session and just go right to their phone, and like, they've just literally slate wiped everything that they just did. And that's the same way with plant medicine. You can get right back on the computer, back on the phone. You can get back to eating poorly. You can get back to the toxic relationships, and
Mhm.
everything is just simply wiped back the way it was.
Yeah. I think a
Yeah.
lot of us do want that, like, quick hit and quick
Mhm.
fix.
Mhm.
So it's not like, and I want to really emphasize this, for me, it's not like the mushrooms did that, right? That was my choice to leave. It just reminded me of how worthy I am and why am I settling for less than what I demand that I want in a relationship? Like,
Yeah.
why would I settle? Like, it was just reminding me. I mean, I know why, right? Not having a present father, right? We can go down
Mhm.
that whole rabbit hole, but it just reminded me, like, you are an infinite, powerful, multidimensional being. What are you doing being in a relationship where a man doesn't respect you and doesn't worship me the way I want to be? Like, why am I entertaining this?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
100%.
yeah, and it just reminded me that I can have whatever I want in a relationship. And he just wasn't it. Great
Yeah,
guy, love him to pieces. We're very connected beyond this reality, but like it's not gonna work. It's not what I wanted.
yeah. And that's where the medicine, the plant, Mama Earth comes in and just holds you in the space of what you need to see, of what you need to see in that time. And like I said, sometimes it's what you just explained. Like it's not always good. It's not always what for me, it really has opened me up to, which it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson that that you get to choose.
Power's in your choice.
Yeah, yeah. So you get to choose. So and I really want to caveat that too, is that I don't see anything wrong, in my opinion, with using plant medicine as a healing modality, as a healing tool, because what she does is she takes the subconscious mind out of the picture and allows the conscious mind to come in and opens your heart to love, opens your heart to this different vibration, this different energy. And so let's talk about I know that you have done other journeys too. I just did a longer journey of psilocybin. It's not necessarily a hero's journey, but it's something that I'm like just experimenting with. But
Mm.
and this last journey for me just really opened me up to I went through the birth canal. I went through the birth canal again, and that was really interesting. At first, my daughter went through the birth canal inside of me, and then it immediately transitioned into me going into the birth canal of my mother. And what I recognize is that I had forgotten this, is that I went into an incubator as an infant, as a newborn, and I was never held. I wasn't nurtured. I didn't feel physical touch. So for me now, there's only a few safe people, especially men, that can hold me and I feel safe.
Yeah.
And I know that has to do with the stories that were happening and the narcissistic manipulation, but also it's that little being that I was able to witness and go back while I was having this experience with Mama Earth, that I could go back and I could hold her, that I could touch her, and that I could see why she feels the way she does now. And so it's just an opportunity to release a veil, to release a layer, to have some more awareness for how you navigate life. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. So let's do you want to share any other of your other journeys with psilocybin?
Yeah. Do you care if I share a little bit of my perspective from the journey we did?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm looking
So a
forward
little
to
more,
it.
yeah, a little more context. This is when Ashley, the second time she came out to Santa Cruz, I had been in a partnership for 7 months with a lovely man. I still love him. I think he's just this beautiful, deep, emotional being that is working on his own healing. And when she came out to Santa Cruz, I had recently gone through the breakup, and that was very hard because it brought up a whole lot of stuff from being in the narc manipulation. And she's like, let's just go to the Redwoods. Let's get an Airbnb. And lovely enough, this Airbnb had like a trampoline swing, which was so fun. And it also had a hot, cold plunge. And we just sat in the woods. And so share your perspective now that I've given the context of where we were.
Yeah, yeah, that came up for me because you were talking about your, I guess, like hesitancy, right? With like touch and feeling safe around people. So what I remember, right? And this is where any experience where I've brought in mushrooms with like people in my life, I just feel so deeply connected to them. And I just feel like our relationships go, they're so profound and they go so much deeper than friends in my life that I haven't explored mushrooms with. And I'm sure there, right, there's reasons behind that. But what I wanted to just bring forth and shed light on is while you were experiencing those emotions, like there was something telling me just like hold her, like just hold her, let her be held. Let her experience what it feels like to be held by like a safe person.
Mm.
Right. So I remember just holding you like in the hot tub. And it was easy, right? Because the water's dispensing you. But I just remember holding you like a baby and just shining like nothing but like light and
Mm.
safety. right? And I know our souls are connected, but like that just felt so innate to me to do, like for you. And I feel like that's kind of what your soul was asking for, or like what was
Yeah.
being needed at that point. So I just want to share that to illustrate like the connectedness that mushrooms can allow you to have with people. And I think innately, like humans are very connected and we want to live right in societies and communes and be really interconnected and be really
Mhm.
extroverted with one another. But
Mhm.
because we live in the society that we do, it completely displaces us from that, right? Like just go in your house, stay in, be introverted, don't talk to anyone because it's such a stimulating environment to be in this reality. So, right, just allowing yourself the time and space to be in the woods and do like a little micro with your friends, like
Mhm.
it's going to be transformative. It's going to be great. There's nothing, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
negative that can come from it. But once again, it's your headspace and where you're at and
Mhm.
re just emphasizing that safety piece, right? Because I took a little bit less than you. So I don't know if you felt that, but I felt like I was a really safe space to just
Mm.
hold you through the experience.
Absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like looking back at the experience, like there were definite, like the waves of the tears, the waves of the joy, the waves that kept coming in and out, and like being reassured that it's okay. It's okay to feel this, because as a society, like we don't want to feel anything that's hard, anything that's heavy, anything that we could shame ourselves or we could guilt ourselves. And and to have somebody that sees you authentically as the soul that you are, and not your past versions of you, and not judge you. And that's where the beautiful journey of evolving and the expansion happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, I think bringing a little bit of mushrooms into any relationship, like not even romantic, like completely just friends or even just like platonic, right? Like you and I have such a deep level that I can't always put into words, but that like completely transcends people that I've been friends with, right? For 10, 11, 12 years, right? And we've known each other for just a short amount of time. But I think it's because we've allowed ourselves to just view each other from the lens of purely the soul, right? Like the past doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like I know you, I know your personal story. And I don't know, that just doesn't exist like when we hang out. Like I don't even see your age when we hang out. Like
Which I'm
that's the
grateful
part that
for.
I know. That part really blows my mind. Like it's just pure soul to soul connectedness. And when you allow yourself to be in the space of plant medicine, it just almost like reinforces that,
Hmm.
right? Like that it's safe just to have a deep connection with someone, knowing that they're not going to leave you. They're not going to ghost you. Like they're not going to hurt you. I'm sure, I mean, we've had conversations like that may come up here and there, but I think we both know, like at the core of our being, not like you got me for life now, sister. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
For this lifetime and the next lifetime and the next
And the
lifetime
next and the next and the next.
and the next. Yeah. Yeah, so that's such a beautiful experience for you to share about the dark energy coming out, and to be able to see the different sides of different experiences of sitting with the plant medicine, and knowing that there's no right or wrong. There is no shame. There is no
No,
guilt. It
no.
just gets to be. And what the psilocybin does is actually, like I said, helps to get that subconscious programming mind of all the thoughts, all the stories, all the swirls out of the way. It's kind of like opening up a door into your conscious awareness.
Yeah.
Uh,
For
yeah.
me, it's just like it's pure energy and pure love anytime I've explored them, right? Like my experiences with you, the person I just shared the story with, and like even my current partner, we've done journeys here and there, nothing too large, but it's nothing but like pure love and connectedness. Like the first time I explored it with him, we were out in nature and I just got this wild download of like the rock we were on. Like I saw him like on one knee, like proposing to me and just like telling me how much he adores me. And that has not happened yet, but
Yet.
but but in the future, right, if that does, like I was able to access that and it allowed me to see him through once again a lens of no judgment and just pure love. Because I mean, you met us, you see how different we are.
Mhm.
Our
Vastly different.
Yeah, our energies are so different. I wouldn't say we're similar. I mean, on the things that matter, we are, but just the way we navigate life is very, very, very different. He's one spectrum and I'm the other spectrum. So I think a lot of people would question, like, how are they together, right? Like, how do they make this work? I questioned it, and I'm sure he has as
I
well.
questioned it when I was there, and then I was like, oh, wait, they communicate. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing, they communicate.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna bring in, right? Getting out of that subconscious mind. It allowed me and gifted me, revealed to me that different doesn't have to mean bad,
Mm-mm.
right? Like different doesn't mean you don't have to be together. Right? I think we're so conditioned in this reality to like find your soulmate. And I'm guilty of that. Like, I love love, right? We're so conditioned to find like your other half or your better half or you complete me. And
Mm.
like my relationship now with my partner is the most conscious, like aware relationship I've been in. And what I mean by that is I've tried as hard as I can to disconnect to the limiting beliefs that exist about what a relationship should look like, how it should feel, how you should be feeling when you're with that person, the butterflies, the sparks fly. Like none of that shit has ever happened for me, like in this relationship with him. But yet I've been with him for 6 years. And yes, we have disagreements and arguments, but we communicate.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I've been with people in the past where it's like, oh, yeah, love at fucking first sight, like, swept me off my feet, had me feeling all the emotions, all the tingles, all the feelings. And it's like, that didn't last.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not realistic. And I'm not,
Mm.
I'm not saying that everyone, right, has to live their life like this or use this to navigate how to choose a partner, but we've been so conditioned to be like, this is what a relationship should look like. And when it doesn't meet those check marks that aren't even your check marks, like you didn't even decide that these are your deciding factors on what you want. Someone
Yes.
else, something else, some other society, right, decided that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're selecting a partner based off of these false, unrealistic expectations that are possibly never going to be met because they're unrealistic. So I don't know where I was going on that tangent.
You and your current partner, you experienced a journey together.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. But yeah, he was he's the most conscious like partner I've had where he continuously just, for lack of a better term, like he calls me out on my shit. And
Yeah.
like I think that's a big reason of why we're able to be together and why I'm able to receive what he's telling me. Because the medicine of Mother Earth, right, mushrooms, allow me to almost get out of my wounded little girl mind or get
Mm.
out of my masculine mind or get out of the ego and just receive what he's telling me, which is pure love and intention, because that's all it is, right? He
Mm-hmm.
sees that I've struggled or suffered, right? With how I show up in this reality. So he'll hold up the mirror and be like, is this actually you? Like, are you actually angry that I did this thing? Or is this a reflection of your wounded inner girl, like little girl, right? Because your dad didn't show up, now you're expecting me to show up this way, right? And is that actually fair? I'm just using these as
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people would receive that really
Mm-hmm.
well, right? They
Mm-hmm.
would receive it as a judgment or, however we want to label it. But since exploring mushrooms, that's just allowed me to almost like get out of my own way. Once
Mm-hmm.
again, get out of the limiting beliefs, detach from the thoughts that aren't even mine, and just decide like, how does my soul actually feel in this partnership, in this relationship? Right? Because
Yeah.
we've broken up 2 times, and every single time we've broken up, like, oh my God, sobbing. And like
Mm.
he was too. Hopefully he doesn't mind that I shared that. But yeah. And so like we both reflected, and it's like our souls did not want to be apart.
Yeah.
We really didn't. And so you can just get wrapped up in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can get wrapped up in people's thoughts of your relationship or your own judgments about the relationship, but just connecting back to your soul and like, who does your soul want to be in a relationship with, right? Without the limitations of society or what society tells you, just getting back to your core and who it wants to be with and how it wants to be with them. And maybe it's no one, and that's okay too, right? Just, I don't know, I see mushrooms as such a tool to expand your mind, which
Mm-hmm.
then expands your expression of how you show up in this reality.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's really allowed me to tap into my highest potential. Like I say,
Mhm.
my evolved self or my most expanded self, right? That's always been there, but I just allow it to lead. Whereas before, I would let my small, shriveled up, traumatized inner child lead. And
Mhm.
that didn't get me anywhere. I don't know that it
No,
gets anyone anywhere.
no, no. I love that you brought that in, and I love that you brought the the awareness of being able to see your inner child and how she, for a lot of us, runs the show.
Oh
And
yeah.
so being able to sit with the medicine and seeing your higher self. And also, like, I want to interweave into, for me, I have been microdosing with breathwork, and it has taken my breathwork journey. So Ashley and I both facilitate the 3-part conscious connected breathing pattern. Um, I know that our experiences when we hold space for each other, they're about 50 minutes. And when you microdose and you breathe in that capacity, it's not a fast capacity. It's a very slow, it's very intentional, it's very loving, it's very supportive. And it actually has given me more awareness of who I am and to be able to, like, really live more authentically. And so and I want to speak for you, but I know for me, bringing this modality into our retreat in Sedona is very important,
Yeah.
that we bring it in for the women that are signing up for the retreat too, because you don't have to do the microdosing at the retreat. It is not mandatory, it's optional, but it is also another way to allow us, Ashley and I, to hold you in this safe, sacred space of evolving, of expanding your mind and getting out of your own way.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think mushrooms specifically can be a really lovely almost like bridge to taking you out of your own mind, like getting you out of your own way without getting into the science. But I think this is so fucking cool, the science of it. So, right, the 3-part breath that we facilitate, it allows you to release your own psychotropic neurochemical DMT, which allows you to have experiences of higher realms of reality, higher consciousness, right?
Mhm.
And we've been so conditioned to be like, you can't do that. That's only secreted when you're born and when you die, right? But
Mhm.
that's completely false. Like we have a whole system integrated into our physical body that allows you to secrete it essentially whenever you want, right? By doing the 3-part breath. And I know there's other techniques and other breath practices, but
You actually secrete it when you have an orgasm too.
there you go. That's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Yeah. So we have ways to like secrete this, but we're told that we can't. And that's where, right, if psychedelics can be really beneficial because that is what happens, right? You secrete DMT, but I've had enough journeys and enough experiences, at least at this point. Then this point in time for me, I'm like, oh, I can just secrete it on my own. Right. So I've utilized Mother Earth's medicine as a tool, right, to get out of my own head, to get out of my own way and allow myself to just experience what I'm going to experience without the thoughts, the limiting beliefs, yada, yada, yada. Right. And so now I'm at a point where that practice is easier for me. It's not as difficult. So I'm not always grabbing a microdose and I'm not, grabbing the psychedelics and it's purely choice, right? Not saying that's
Mhm.
right or wrong,
Mhm.
good or bad, no
Yeah.
judgment. But I'm just at a point where I've realized like, oh, I can do this without something external. But that's
Mhm.
where it's been so transformational and pivotal for me and my growth and expansion to have that tool to allow me to get past my limiting mind essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. Oh, so many juicy things. I want to wrap this episode up because I don't want to go into any of the other journeys, unless you want to experience, or drop in any of your other psilocybin experiences that may be potent and powerful.
No, they've all been really potent and powerful. Like, if I'm gonna do something over and over again, for me, it's gonna be psilocybin. It just resonates with my body, and it's such a playful, like, loving energy. Whereas I know other psychedelics can be a little bit more layered, more substance, more intense, maybe.
Mm,
Um, I've explored quite a few, but my favorite for sure has been mushrooms. They just speak to me and it's what my body resonates with really
mm.
well.
I love that. I love that. All right, so we're going to wrap up this part 2 episode of Mind Expansion. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to our wisdom. If you have a desire to join us in Sedona on November 1st through November 5th, there are spots still open. It is our honor and our privilege to be able to hold you in this space. It is an all-inclusive, minus your airfare, retreat in Sedona at this really high vibe Airbnb that sits in the energetic vortexes of Sedona. And if you've never been there, look up Sedona. It's pure magic. And we have a private chef that's coming in. We have ceremonies. We have all the information that I will drop the link in the show notes. But if this is something that's resonating with you, we have 4 spots. We have 4 spots still open. So grab your girlfriend, come join us so that we can hold you in this beautiful space of Sedona. So until next time, beautiful souls, stay your vibrant self, and we will see you on the next episode.